so today is Friday, the 5th of March, and just your one final day of remote learning and your final maths lesson in this style. So just before we start, hopefully you've completed your arithmetic practice and you've marked that yourself. We're going to do a bit of pre-learning before the session and before we go through what we're learning to do today, because we're doing a bit of problem solving. But we're just going to have a look at this information here to think about how we calculate angles that intersect. And this will help us with the problems that we're going to be investigating today. So you can see there's some questions on the board about what's similar about these lines and what's different about them. And obviously you can also notice, hopefully not just about the lines, but the angles on them. And you can see how they intersect, the way that they cross here, and the angles that are being produced around that central point. So we know lots of information about angles now, so we should be able to use that to help in our investigation of these intersecting lines. We know that around a point we have 360 degrees. So if we look at all of our angles around this point, they will total 360 degrees. You might be able to spot here that we have got some opposite angles that are the same. So here we've got angle A being the same as the angle here. And as you can see here, we've got these two angles, B and B, being the same as each other because we've got opposite angles of our intersecting lines that are the same in degree measurement. So that's an important little bit of information that will help us in today's learning, and it's also on your help sheet that you have been given and sent home. So let's use this information, keep it at our fingertips to remember, so that we know that if we put A plus B together, we get 180 degrees, and B plus A together 180 degrees. You can see, and I'll try and get that in a different color so you can spot that quite clearly. If I divide up with our line here, the way our line intersects the other one, you can see we've got a straight line, so made up of A and B, or B and A, totaling 180 degrees, and obviously around that point will be 360 degrees. And what we're going to start off with is we're going to be having a look at one problem, which is kind of in a dip and pick style that you've probably been familiar with and used to before. And then you can pause the video, have a go at doing that, and then I'll go through the second problem as well. So if we just firstly have a look at what we're going to be doing today, we're solving missing angle problems. We're going to be successful in doing this with remembering all of our facts that we've been drawing on and learning about throughout this week. So the fact that we know that the angles that are on a straight line will add up to 180 degrees. So it's important here to annotate that. Around a point, which we've just touched upon, in fact, we've got 360 degrees. Where lines intersect, so intersecting lines where they cross, and the fact that we've been talking a lot about polygons this week, so that's many-sided shapes. So you can see that we've been thinking and focusing on all of those different skills this week, which are going to help us be successful at solving missing angle problems. So we're going to be unpicking on the question to help us understand what it's asking us to do. In some cases using the bar model to show our understanding of the methods that we are using. So you will be familiar with, because we've just had a little brief pre-discussion about this, that when we are talking about opposite angles, they are the same, as you can see on this little diagram up here, which leads us quite nicely into this first question here. So it says to us, can you calculate x? Well, actually, that's quite nice and straightforward. So we know that x is opposite to the angle here. And if this angle is 40 degrees, this angle also will be 40 degrees as well. So we now know some information about these two angles, and actually we can start to unpick what the information would be to find out these further missing angles. In fact, we can use that as a starting point for our investigation. So we know around a point, we've got our knowledge there that we know that it will total 360 degrees. And we know that 360 degrees is made up of a 40-degree angle and a further 40-degree angle. And then we've actually got two, well, if we like, we could call these y here. We've got y and y because they're opposite angles, they're going to be the same. So we've got a y angle that we don't know yet, and another y angle. We keep them the same letter because they are the same in degree measurement there. Okay, so using that information, we can then start unpicking what this y is here. So 360 degrees, well, actually, we can simplify this even further now. We know already that these two 40s, which are the ones that we already know and found out, is 80 degrees that we already know about around this point. And also, we've got to add to that 2y, two lots of y. So I can put 2y there. Okay, from my 360 degrees already took away my 80 degrees. Apologise once again for my dodgy mouse writing. Then I will already know what I'm left with, which is the same as 2y. So 360 degrees take away 80 degrees is going to give me 280 degrees. So I know that that's the information that is divided between these two bits, and that's already given you a clue about what we will need to do next. So I know that 280 degrees here is the same as 2y, two of those y's. And what I will now need to do with my 280 degrees, which is both these angles added together, I will need to divide it into two to find out what each of the y's are going to be. So I'm actually in effect doing 280 and I'm dividing it by 2. Okay, and if I divide 280 by 2, I halve that, I get 140 degrees. So I have then found out that this side is 140 degrees, and as is this y here, because my y is going to be 140 degrees. And I could do a bit of checking with that because we know we can go back and do some checking. So now I should be able to add all of these angles up, and they will total my 360 degrees, which is what I know is around a point. It therefore is going to be 140. And my original one, which was quite a nice, easy one to find out, was my opposite angle here, was going to be 40. So that's a little bit of introduction about how I might solve this problem. Sometimes, as this one says, it only asks us to calculate x, but we can also calculate the other missing angles because we know something about opposite angles are the same, and we know something about angles around a point. So it gives us lots of opportunities to explore our mathematical knowledge further. So for today's learning, you have a similar task to look through. Please do the central one as we've just been doing there. Obviously, it only asks you to find x, as it does for quite a few of the tasks up here. It gets a little bit harder between 4 and 5 when you're asked not to find the opposite, but to find the adjacent angle there. And remember, the straight line always adds up to 180, so that gives you a bit of a clue. But obviously, you can also know the knowledge about angles around a point always equal up to 360. So pause the video now and have a go at solving this problem. And come back to the video when you are ready. Okay, so moving on, I think if you have a look at your help sheet for maths and your angle work this week, there is a little section that gives you some information about or I haven't got it up here, how to approach a missing angle problem. So you always need to identify the angles that you are being asked to calculate, and we've been doing that the whole way through, and use your knowledge of angle facts that you've already been learning to help you establish the missing angles that you're looking to. You should be continually referring to this process to help you in your problem solving. So bar models will be able to help model the process, but they won't necessarily be able to give you the answer. So they just give you a way of demonstrating and displaying what the calculations that you are doing. So if we now move on to your task 2, if you like, your next problem that you're going to be solving. So we've got just a picture here, and we're going to start off with looking at that and just having a think about what you notice and what you think it's going to ask you to solve and what you think it might be all about. So if you have a look at that problem in front of you, pause the video, have a think about what you're going to be asked, what you know, what you don't know already, what you're thinking through. Okay, so you might have already noticed these things. You might have also already noticed that there is a right angle in our triangle here. You might have also noticed that there are 2 interior angles that we don't know. You might have also noticed that there's an exterior angle that has been drawn on. So that's something we may need to be investigating in this problem. And you might have also noticed that that exterior angle is forming along a straight line, which we know something about being 180 degrees. So you can see already, you can already notice, and it's a good idea when you come to problems to just get rid of all the text around it and just look at the image you're presented with and start unpicking, well, what do I already know? Well, I know about a right angle being 90 degrees. I know something about interior and exterior angles, and I know that the interior angles of a triangle all add up to 180. Angles along the straight line are 180 also. So you are beginning to unpick all the things that may come up in this problem, and you may need information to solve. So your problem today that you're going to be looking through and thinking about is this one here. This is some of the bits revealed, and it gives you some information about missing angles. Well, we didn't know this angle before, but this angle is actually 35 degrees. So now we've been given some more information. We've got a mystery angle that we're calculating for this angle X here, and we've got so that's an interior angle, and we've got an exterior angle to investigate as well. So it very clearly says we're not using a protractor to measure this. We're doing some calculations of the missing angles. So with all the knowledge that you've been building upon this week, you should be able to start to approach how you might go through this problem and look at where you're going to start. So you might be thinking, well, actually, I could start with my interior angles because I know something about the total of the interior angles of a triangle. I also know what this angle is already. And then you might be also thinking, well, actually, maybe this would be my good starting point because I actually know something about angles along a straight line, and I know that I've already been given part of that straight line degree with my 35 degrees angle here. So this is an extension to that with my exterior angle. So all of those things should give you a starting and thinking point to get going with your task today. And you have a dip and pick card to complete the first question in the start bit here. It says here part 1 is having a go at that first section and then moving around to 2, 3 and 4, and it gives you some alterations to this question for you to investigate. Okay, so good luck, and we look forward to seeing the work that you've completed this week when you email into your class teacher. Goodbye for now.